I'll call the Wednesday, September 21st, 2002 meeting of the Architecture Review Committee to order. And to start off with, Jennifer, will you conduct a roll call for us, please?
Yes, Chair Hunter,
Here.
Vice Chair Tregenza. Here. Commissioner Bluth.
Here.
Committee Member Carter. I don't see her on Zoom, so I will mark her absent. Committee Member Ostovar.
Here.
Thank you. Committee Member Polly. I also do not see on the call, so I will mark him absent as well. Committee Member Schmidt.
Here.
Is present. Okay. And then for staff, we have myself as Administrative Assistant Jennifer Cleary. We have Principal Planner Fernando Roveri, Senior Associate Planner Chris Schmidt, Associate Planner Matthew Buggert, and Recording Secretary Erica Barrera.
Okay. All right. At this time, I'll open the consent agenda. Jennifer, will you announce for any way that members of the public not in the chamber can participate?
Members of the public are encouraged to join our meetings via Zoom Gov, a secure service that connects you live with no lag time. This meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey with a 10-second delay and Comcast channel 25 with up to a 90-second delay. If you would like to provide public comment, please join the meeting using Zoom or by telephone, making sure to join in time to accommodate delays. To join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. Since the meeting has begun, you'll find the agenda under the Recent tab. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864 toll-free, then enter the webinar ID 161-914-9563. Once again, the phone number to call is 833-568-8864. And the webinar ID for this meeting is 161-914-9563. If that phone number doesn't work, there are more listed on the meeting agenda at isearchmonterey.org. If prompted for a participant ID, press pound. Detailed instructions for using Zoom are available at monterey.org/public meetings. To provide public comment via Zoom, please use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen. To provide comments by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. Public commenters will be announced using their last 3 phone number digits or the name typed into Zoom. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. Please turn off the TV or computer speakers or go to another room while connected, as background noise interferes with the broadcast. Public speakers will be called upon in order of hands raised. There's a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting. Please stay within that limit. And just a reminder for those of us who are here in the council chambers, if you speak at all, please make sure your microphones are on. The green light should be showing. And thank you. That was it from me. There is one attendee and the hand is not raised. So I think there are no comments for items not on the agenda today.
Okay. Also, Jennifer, committee member Polly has joined us online.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for pointing that out. I will mark your time.
Okay.
Arrived at 4:06 p.m.
And then just a point in the chamber, the requirement is to be masked inside the chamber. If you don't have masks, I think Jennifer has available ones up here for you.
I do. Thank you for that, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so open up the consent agenda. If there are any member of the public or the members of the committee that would like to discuss a consent item. No. All right, I'll entertain any motions for the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve items on the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All right, the motion has been put forward by committee member Blue and seconded by committee member Polly to approve the consent agenda. Jennifer, will you conduct a roll call vote for us, please?
Yes, Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Vice Chair Tregenza.
Aye.
Committee Member Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Carter is absent still, yes. And Committee Member Ostovar,
Abstain.
Committee Member Polly,
Aye.
and Committee Member Schmidt.
Aye.
Great, those meetings passed with a vote of 6 the minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Close the consent agenda and open up for public comments on items that are not on today's agenda. If anyone speaks, please state your name for the record and remind the public that any questions put forth can't be answered today because they are not on the published agenda. Still no hands raised, Jennifer?
No hands are raised. Once again, if you're joined by Zoom, there is a raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen. I don't see a hand going up, so I think we are safe to move
All
on.
right. I'll go ahead and move on to the public appearance items. And for the first one, we'll be looking at considering 351 Watson Street Architectural Review Permit ARP-21-0162 for preliminary and final architectural review of exterior alterations, including two-story addition at an existing two-story family dwelling. Okay. Staff, you have a presentation for us?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a Senior Associate Planner for the City of Monterey. And this is a project that's returning to the ARC after undergoing a redesign, a previous recommendation by the ARC to redesign the project. So at this time, the staff recommendation is to continue the item. Did receive a number of public comments yesterday and today around 2 p.m. That we would like to have the applicant address. Nevertheless, I still do have a presentation if the ARC would like to hear it. It includes the proposal and responses to some of those comments. And I'll just assume that we'll move forward. So again, the site is 351 Watson. It's a excuse me, a 4,522.5 square foot site located in the R3 multifamily dwelling district in Old Town Monterey. And it contains an existing two-story single-family dwelling. And here we see that proposed addition. It's essentially the same footprint as the previous design. If you recall, the previous design was a flat roof deck design that seemed to be incompatible with the existing dwelling design. So just to quickly go through the floor plans. On the left is the existing, so an existing later addition to the dwelling would be removed. That's the addition of the kitchen and office area, as well as the exterior deck. And there would be a two-story addition in that location. At the top floor would be a new family room. And then the bottom floor would be an additional bedroom. And there's an existing laundry room accessible from the exterior of the home that would be converted to a bathroom. And there's a laundry space would be expanded adjacent to the bedroom. So here we see the revised design. The applicant has gone ahead and designed a.
So Chris, I don't mean to interrupt you, but could you minimize the pictures of the commissioners so we can see the full drawings?
I wasn't aware.
We are seeing it just fine here, at least on my side.
I think you have to minimize them at the staff computer.
We just resolved it. Sorry about that. Thank you.
So yeah, moving forward, so the applicant eliminated the roof deck and incorporated a hipped roof design to match the existing. It's a lower roof than the existing as well to comply with the height requirement. And you can see they've incorporated a number of design elements as well. The windows to match the existing home on both side elevations. And then and then there was also a pair on both sides of the home with there'd be skylights on both sides as well as on the rear hipped roof. And then you can see the rear east elevation would have a different style of windows, a combination of slider and casement windows, as well as non-operational windows. So you can see those with the note NO, and then a sliding glass door at the bottom floor as well. Staff did receive additional public comments from the property owners to the south of the project site, and I'll briefly go through each of their items. Generally, they take issue with some of the work that's been done in the rear yard, claiming that there's been a structure that's been constructed in the rear yard where there's been some grading and installation of stairs as well as turf, which alters, point number 2, altered the topography of the rear. They also questioned the survey, which on the plans that were attached, the applicant had included the topographic data that was extrapolated from the survey. The survey was not included with the exhibit, and so I can show that here. The neighbors disagree with the proposed fenestration at the rear, the proposed windows, and at the second story, the slider windows and casement windows, stating they don't match the double hung style that is used throughout the home. One of the issues that we will ask the applicant to address is if the windows at the proposed bathroom are missing, and I'll show a slide that shows that as well. There was a number 6, the list of drawings. There was a mistake on the list of drawings that still had note of the roof deck, so that should be eliminated. There is an unpermitted carport structure at the rear that I will show a photo, and staff did include a condition to remove or permit that structure before the building permits could be issued for this proposal today. The neighbor also questions the applicability of stormwater requirements due to the grading and building of this structure at the rear, as well as the stair and parking area. There's also a comment about the historic features that have been changed that the historian for this project has had as the basis that this site is not eligible for designation. There was also comments about the neighboring historic residents based on discussion at the ARC's previous meeting. And then lastly, that the neighbor did not communicate their intentions with this project. And I think they were just displeased with that. So just to address a couple of the first few items here, what I've shown is the survey that was prepared by a licensed land purveyor, and I did verify that their license is active. Basically, the neighbor is contesting that the grading of this site here is essentially a structure, and it should be counted as a structure in terms of lot coverage. Staff discussed this, and this is essentially landscaping and topography. It doesn't count towards lot coverage. Some backfilling of the site was done and some small retaining walls were poured on either side of the lot. And so that was one of their concerns. This should really be a structure. Additionally, they claimed that the topography at the rear, the height of the proposed structure should be based on the topography of the previous condition, not the current condition. I think staff looked at what that potential difference in height was, and the applicant did provide a photo measurement, even identifying what that height difference was approximately 11 inches at most. But again, we can't really go and assess the previous condition, so we're basically going to have to measure it from this current condition. And so this is a photo that was provided by the neighbor just to show what the previous condition of the rear yard was, and I have the following slide that shows what current condition is. But essentially, there was a gentle slope at the rear that the applicant essentially built, an extended parking pad, kind of where the one that's shown in this photo is, then stairs up towards a flat graded area covered by turf. The neighbor does show, I think these were photos while the applicant was doing some of this landscaping site work, just to show kind of what the change in topography potentially could have been. It's pretty hard to understand where these photos were taken, but obviously there's some difference in topography, anywhere from 16 inches or less potentially. Some photos were provided to me by the applicant today, showing the existing condition. So on the far right, you can see the now turf covered play area, because the site is used as a child care center. And you can see beyond on that right photo, the fencing, there's about a 6 or so step stair that goes into that parking area. You can also see that illegally constructed accessory structure on the right hand side. These were photos provided by the owner. I think the left photo, I think if he wants to speak, he can discuss what he wants to talk about these, but I think his point here was on the left photo, he wanted to show that window that's missing from the drawings. And I think that the other window for the bathroom is actually supposed to be placed to the right of the downspout that you see there. And we can help you clarify that as well. And then the point of the right photo, I believe, is to just show the grade difference. This is the neighboring property to the south, and then the lot on the other side of that is even lower. So I think his point was that the grades do change because this is a neighborhood on the side of a hill. And then I found this photo. I just wanted to show, this is that parking pad area opposite to the location of the addition. So you can see that those stairs that are not visible in some of those previous photos. So one of the other comments the neighbor had was that the fenestration was not appropriate. See on the bottom left photo, the rear windows that the neighbor disagrees with. And I just wanted to show the rest of the elevations to show the difference. The staff did not feel that these windows were inappropriate. But that is up to the ARC to decide. And then in the right photo, those are the potential missing windows in orange would be roughly the size and location of the existing window that I believe is open up to the subfloor area. And then the blue would be where the bathroom window potentially would be. I'm not 100% sure what those sizes are. This is one thing that we would like the applicant to address if we return to the ARC, if the ARC continues the item. I mentioned the comment regarding the list of drawings. Like I said, these were just remnants from a previous submittal. So the applicant should remove the references to the roof deck, roof hatch and stair, and also include the correct topographical survey. It was not in this set of drawings, and I should have caught that. And as I mentioned, here's that unpermitted structure. Again, the resolution does include a special condition number 1 to remove or permit that structure before building permits are issued for this project. And then I'll lastly just mention there were some comments regarding the I briefly touched on the historian notes. Historic features have been changed as the basis for the determination that the site is not eligible for designation. At this time, those items are not recoverable. I think the city could consider an effort to have them reconstructed, but they're not going to be original. And they would not be necessarily so different than what's existing today, perhaps just slightly different materials. So with that, again, staff recommends to continue to address the public comment, namely the window issue. I am available for questions. I believe the applicant is on the line as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. Let's open up the floor to questions for Chris from the committee members.
Chris, I had a question. Do we know when that rear retaining wall and grading occurred?
I don't know the date of the survey, which shows that is the existing condition. The survey was prepared in January of this year. So it existed prior to that. I know that they applied sometime mid 2021, and I believe that was the same condition then. So it was always the condition since I had been able to visit the site. I know that the neighbor did make complaints in the past about improvements at the site. I wasn't aware of the improvements at the rear. I had spoken with her about improvements made in the front yard, or at least that's what my recollection is, but I don't know how long they've truly been there.
Thank you.
Chris, I have a quick question. So if I understand it, the only reason we're proposing to have this continued is because those 2 windows weren't shown on that elevation? Or is it that staff wants time to review the last minute comments that came in?
I think that when looking at the window, I mean, generally, yes, I do want to look at all of the comments to be sure and perhaps provide a more detailed response, a written response. But I think the at this point was to ensure that window was in the correct location.
Okay. My personal, I mean, if that's the only reason, my personal thought is I wouldn't continue it. I don't view the windows at that elevation and that relationship to grade as being privacy concerns. I don't think they were trying to pull a fast one. They probably just forgot to put the windows on the elevation. But if you want to address the larger comments that came in, I completely understand that. Also want to understand, it does look like a significant amount of grading has been done in the back. There underneath that AstroTurf, you're saying is just filled dirt from where they enlarged the parking pad?
Yeah, it's my understanding that it was backfilled with crushed stone, some sort of rock to encourage better drainage.
Mm-hmm.
And from what the applicant has explained, it is that it has improved the drainage, especially with the recent rain event we had.
And what are the city's requirements for a grading permit? Like what's the litmus test there? I know some areas, you know, if you're moving more than 20 cubic yards of dirt, I'm just pulling that number out of thin air, but does the city have a requirement for a grading permit?
The city does. I don't know what the specific threshold is. It's my understanding that when this work was being done, I think our building official went out to the site and said that no permit was required, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that happened, and at that point, did he red tag the accessory structure?
I think, the accessory structure is more recent. It doesn't show on the survey, so it's been constructed since the survey was drafted in January.
I would like to add that I checked with our building division and we have no proof that a staff member visited the site to comment on the grading or the turf construction.
Yeah, I'm aware that someone came. I know I'm aware of a permit for the front, some of the work in the front yard, but I'm not sure about the rear yard.
Well, yeah, we
The
don't
only
have
code, but the
evidence
only.
yeah, we
Go
don't
ahead.
have any evidence that a staff member visited the rear.
Okay, but at this moment, the only issue that you guys are, I mean, I just look at the existing picture, the previous picture, and I look at the existing picture to get that sort of big pad in that playground. That looks like a lot of work. But the only issue that staff is taking with everything back there, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just asking, is that little covered car area.
So I think we discussed in detail how to understand what the previous condition was, and it would potentially be a challenge to understand where the grade was at that point, and looking at photo evidence from what the condition was prior, and I think there were photos and the drawings that showed kind of in the middle of progress of doing some of that grading work, that the elevation at the location of the proposed addition didn't really change a whole lot. Of course, at the rear, the slope continues, and there was certainly fill on that side.
Yeah.
But it doesn't pose as any sort of height concern for this proposal, I think, is where we are.
So there's a lot of people putting turf in their backyards or changing out grass for artificial turf. And that's considered generally a landscaping change that does not require a planning or building permit.
No, I'm not implying that the turf requires a permit. I'm implying it looks like there's been a lot of earth moved around back there. There's been a lot of grading, it looks like.
Yeah, because the question, and it's difficult from the drawings and stuff to see on there. In order to make that a more level area where they put in the backfill and the artificial turf, is that they would have had to put a retaining wall in there. And if I remember correctly, that the maximum height of that can be 48 inches from the footing to the top of it, before it then requires, or after that point requires, a permit and soil engineering survey to see if that is stable. Is that the condition? I couldn't see it from the drawings if the height of the retaining wall holding that backfill and grading there would be under 4 feet or over 4 feet, and what type of requirements would that have then?
So I can't speak for the building division, but you're right that there's a certain threshold that if you cross it, you need a retaining wall engineered, but prepared by an engineer. But this, like it was shown in the photos, it's no taller than 16 or 18 inches.
But the question, if you come off of the number of steps down, they're saying, Kristen reports that it's 7 or 8 steps down. And just hypothetically, if they're talking that it's a 7-inch step, or rise in that 8 times
30
7,
to 40, yeah.
that's 56-inch difference in height from where the base of the retaining wall and the top of it would be. So the question then would then have to be an engineered retaining wall to support that.
We,
Or is that,
yeah, we haven't had any staff member look at the concrete steps in the back. And we have no way of verifying how much earth was moved. So it might have been, so we looked at the topography prior to the work being done because we have topographic contours on our mapping software in the city. And the site has always sloped down from the street. It's higher on the street and slopes down toward the back. And so it may have been that they just built the concrete steps to follow the slope. So I'm not sure if the steps were meant to retain dirt or if they just follow the natural grade back there.
No, that's clearly not the natural grade back there. I mean, I feel like we're maybe a little bit off topic here, but
Yeah.
I think, I guess to bring it home, I'll let you go next, but I think what's happened is probably a lot of neighbors are upset about a lot of illegal work that's been done. And they're sort of going after this project now, for better or for worse. And so that's where it comes down. I guess it just becomes a question of enforcement. And when I look at those pictures, it looks like a heck of a lot of grading has been done back there. And there's an illegal carport. And, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, it looks like there was a lack of enforcement there in terms of some illegal work. And now the neighbors are all looking real carefully at what's going on. So I think we need to decide whether we're going to continue this project or debate all this stuff now. I'm good with either direction.
Yeah, I was just going to stick with the questions topic for now. I agreed with where you started this, Justin, which was, and actually, I don't know, Chris, if you can pull up your numbered list. There were, I think, what appeared to be only 3 of those items that really are relevant to the ARC. The others appeared to be more in the court of planning, along the lines of these things that we just discussed. And so if it's possible for us to pull those out and review this next, is that possible? And then I guess the other question is if it's not, then, and we, as the planning department, you decide you need to review those other items first before it comes to us. Those seem like the 2 areas that we need to question and see if we can resolve. So I guess to clarify my question, from the planning department, is this set? You would like to review this more and then come back to us? Fine, we can do that. Or 2, as Justin started, is it really just the 2 side windows and those back windows that are an issue? If that's the case, then perhaps we can review that portion today.
So I guess the answer to that is that it's been ARC's wish lately to see totally complete plans, which makes absolute sense because it is in our submittal checklist to have complete plans before they come to the ARC. So it was our thought that because the elevations seem to miss some windows, to continue it, to have complete plans brought to the ARC before they make a decision. However, it's up to the ARC to place conditions. If they would like to approve the project, they can place conditions of approval to include those windows at the building stage. And the other, I guess the other thing I'd like to mention is the question about the turf in the back. That's the existing condition at this point, and the height of the addition was measured from the grade at the turf area, we have that information now, and so based on that, we also have the survey that's stamped, and we have that the height is verified that it does not exceed the height limit. So that's just for your information and for your consideration.
Okay, yeah, I guess pointing to this list, again, it seems 4, 5, 6 are the ones that maybe are relevant, most relevant to the ARC. The others are dependent on enforcement by planning department, things like the carport structure. Yes, we would, that would likely be something that came across our desk, but would need to be done officially and correctly. So I guess to clarify, I think you're saying it's in our court whether or not we want those other items collectively to come back with our review.
Right, it's up to the ARC whether they would like to resolve place conditions of approval or ask that the plans come back with more complete information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions for Chris this time, I'll go ahead and invite the applicant to make a presentation if they're present. Here.
There is somebody on the line with their hands raised.
Okay.
We have to wait until it's public comment if it is a public comment. But somebody is on the line named Edri Srohina. That's the applicant. Okay.
Okay.
We can allow them to talk. You should be able to unmute.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there. We can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I came up with a new design. I think I was hearing and then I raised my hand to step in. Anything in the back that I did is not illegal. The building department at that time, I think the neighbor did complain, and then the building department showed up, and then based on the height and everything they saw, they did see that there is no permit required for that. And I can even prove it if you guys want, because there was also a concern on the garage, because on my north side, there was an old garage that they wanted to come and see how the condition is. So they came to the actual backyard and they saw the height, I mean, the height and everything, and they did not think that it required permit. I do understand that every change that you bring in your house, and if it does not require permit, it will cost you a lot more. So every step I would like to involve the city planning or building. So I did went to the city and I talked to them, and they came and they saw regarding the carport. Chris saw and he saw that it's not a permanent carport. If that is a problem, I can remove it. And I also have a couple images that also show the height and elevation. I hope that these pictures would solve the problem. So if you could allow me so I could share my screen and show you the pictures that I have on my screen.
I believe that might be up to Principal Planner Roveri and the chair of this meeting. Typically, we don't. Typically, if somebody shares their screen, they would send it back.
Okay, so if it's not allowed, that's fine. These pictures will identify that we're on the hill side. Each house, like on the neighbor that is complaining on their south side, I have a picture that shows that there is a huge slope. So all these houses has like a huge slope. And because I had a daycare and it was not safe, I put a retaining wall that is not above 48 inches. So I did not require permit. And then the turf that is in the backyard underneath is gravel, compact gravel that it is, I purposely did this so that it would absorb the water. That retaining wall, concrete wall that is all around the turf is 2 inches higher so that if there is a rain or anything, so it will all be absorbed underneath. regarding the back concrete that they were complaining, I did have a problem because when I was parking my car to the backyard, it was hitting underneath. So what I did, if you see, I'm sure that you guys saw the picture that there is a wall from the back street to the backyard. So mostly those elevations were taken from there. And then everything that I did, and then I know that you mentioned that the city, the planning department, the building department say that nobody showed up. I can prove and I can find out the name that who showed up and exactly the date and time.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any questions from the committee for the applicant? Okay, all right. And then at this point, then I'll open up if any members of the public would like to participate. Jennifer, would you restate the steps that members of the public can participate?
To join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864 toll free. Once again, that phone number is 833-568-8864. Then enter the webinar ID 161-914-9563. Once again, the webinar ID is 161-914-9563. Once you're in Zoom to provide public comment, please use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen if you're joined by the computer, or to provide public comments by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. And just a reminder, we do have a 3-minute time limit. And
All right,
please
thank you.
state your name for the record if you feel comfortable with that.
Thank
Go ahead.
you. Thank you, Chair Hunter, members of the committee. I'm Molly Erickson. My mother, Carol Erickson, is the owner of the H2 bungalow directly to the south of the property that's before you today. I'm a little puzzled by all the conflicting pieces of information, and it sounds like the applicant does have some information that may be helpful for everybody to see. Certainly, we'd all like to see the topographic map that's actually stamped by the surveyor and other pieces of information. It occurs to me that perhaps a site visit would be appropriate. There was some discussion earlier about it's hard to see how high the new structure is compared to what was there. Just come to 359, the next neighboring property, and you can see the height difference between the original. You can see the height differences between the two properties. Now, what's distinctive is there's an old wood fence between the two on the shared boundary. Now, wood fences, as you know, sit on top of the ground. They can't be up against soil, dirt, because they'll do what wood does when it's up against soil. So that old wood fence has been there a long time. So you can see where the wood fence, the base of the wood fence, that's the original grade. And you can see the height difference of the property next door. This is a structure. There is no question that this is a structure with retaining walls, with gravel, and with turf over the side. And thank you for the clarification and discussion earlier. I thought that was helpful. I agree with the commenter that this is not just landscaping. This is not just turf over the top. That's not the issue. The issue is the structure beneath the artificial turf that has elevated the level significantly. It is a structure. It's from property line to property line, by the way. It's within the setback on all sides. And as structure is defined by the city code, it is anything built or constructed which requires a permanent location on the ground or is attached to something having a permanent location on the ground. Well, this is a structure, again, from property line to property line. It is a structure. And lot coverage, as described for projects like this one before you today, is the coverage of all structures on a lot. So this structure that's on the rear yard, which is no longer a yard, it's essentially a raised platform and a concrete slab, should be included and counted as site coverage. And that's a critical piece of consideration for applications before the ARC, is whether it meets the site coverage, whether FAR. And in this case, it's significantly over the site coverage because the structure counts as part of it. I'm also puzzled because if an addition is to be built, they'll have to excavate for that. And I don't think they're going to sit it on top of the turf and the rock. They're going to go farther down. So as long as they're going to excavate down to the natural grade anyway, let's just see where that is. In short, I think you all need a lot more information, and I urge a site visit, and we offer our property so you can actually see the cutaway view of where the ground level was. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and my mother is here too as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other comments from public? Anyone online, Jennifer?
I do see the applicant's hand raised again, but just to be clear about our meeting procedures, if we allow the applicant to speak again, we have to reopen the public comment.
Okay. All right. We'll hold off on that for now. Okay. All right. So I'll close the public comments and open this up for discussion and comments from the committee members.
I would just make one comment. It feels like staff's position on everything that's happened in the backyard is that it's legal. And Ms. Erickson's position is that it's illegal. But if I'm understanding staff correctly, you're viewing that as an existing condition that we're not even really discussing. Can you clarify that?
Yes, that's, so we do not consider it a structure. Like we don't consider fences requiring a permit. A small retaining wall or horizontal board of wood, that we don't consider that a structure either. This is only 18 inches tall, and gravel is not a structure and turf is not a structure. So from staff's point of view, this did not need a permit.
Okay.
I'm a little confused as to why the change in the grade and everything in the backyard is even, that's not even part of this application. So I don't know why we're spending time discussing it. If Ms. Erickson has a problem with what's been done, that I think that should go to another department like planning or building, because like I said, you know, we should be looking at mass and materials and stuff like that, and not necessarily whether or not he flattened, you know, he leveled out his backyard. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I guess I would say the same thing, that it's, if we're being told by staff that it's not part of the application and you view it as an existing conforming condition, then I'm not writing off Ms. Erickson's concerns, but it then becomes a code enforcement issue if she feels something's been done illegally, and I guess she needs to win that fight before we can discuss it.
I'd agree, and that was my point, I guess, about the question of those numbers, that there was really only about 3 of them that seems relevant to this committee. Again, not necessarily discounting or otherwise, but it does seem like those are issues that should go to planning, not to the ARC.
And so circling back to whether or not we're going to continue or review this, I'm the one that's probably harped the loudest on the completeness of drawings. I do appreciate staff pointing out that there was shortcomings in the drawings. In terms of the windows, I do think that's something that we can visualize without necessarily having to kick it for another 2-week continuance. I don't think that alone should prevent us from reviewing it, because the diagram that was provided in the staff presentation is adequate to visualize those windows.
I agree with the bathroom window in particular. I would think that this committee should address the comments on the rear east elevation in particular. Just make sure we're in agreement on that.
If I could just add a comment regarding that bathroom window, if the committee is going to have a condition to allow that to move forward, I would just ask the committee specify that, you know, the style of that window, you know, for it to be consistent with the style of the existing, or some suggestion to make that condition clear. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. Any other comments from the committee?
Yeah, go ahead, Patrick, but I'll talk after you.
No, I just want to say, I don't have a problem with the new windows, and I don't know what you call, like, it's like a low clear story window, the non-operational windows. I'm not crazy about skylights. I don't think they really go with the architecture of this house. They're on all three sides. That would be one thing I would have a problem with. And then somewhere, I'm not seeing it here, but somewhere in the plans, I saw demolish existing foundation. So I'm assuming that would be a foundation that's underneath the tacked on garage. And so I'm not sure if we're building this addition on top of what's kind of this other building that's back there now with the staircase. There's no grading directly underneath what's going to be built. That hasn't changed, I don't think. And I think there's a foundation there. So I don't think Ms. Erickson's comments about the fact that we're going to have to then, go back down to bedrock to lay a foundation for this new structure are relevant, because I don't think that the change in the elevation happens. I'm not sure what direction, but farther back in the backyard from the existing structure that's going to be demolished.
Actually, one other quick question tacked onto that. Have story poles been done for this new massing?
Yes.
Do we have pictures of those? I don't think I saw it in the.
I don't think I have any photos of that.
Okay.
So Chris, this is Kim. Do you mind explaining the section drawing at the back of the house and show the new footings for the addition?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so the point here is I just wanted to show the footings. They would be going down about 18 inches. The grade is they show the quote unquote new grade, and I'll just pull up the survey so you can get an idea. So the existing is at 511.85. I've at the location 511.92 near the location of the addition, and so they would be lowering it just a little bit near the addition.
And so Chris, can you clarify? I believe that would be on the area with the existing turf, correct? Because I think that was one of the questions. Does the turf go up to the back of the existing house?
It goes, let me, I think that it goes to like the edge. You can see the deck here. It goes to the edge of the deck, and the addition would extend beyond the deck. So I think some of the turf would be removed, and there would be a little bit of digging to put in those footings.
Can you just go back to that grading plan real quick, because this does raise some questions.
The site plan shows there's a proposed and existing site plan, and it's a better view of where the addition is gonna be. So yeah, it would be on top of the turf. It would extend above the turf.
Hold on a second, because the grade is shown as 512 right there. And the section seemed to indicate that the finished floor was below 512, or was that the finished grade? Can you go back to that section drawing?
Show new grade.
Can you make it bigger, Chris? No. We need to move.
See, they're not calling out the elevations of the finished floors.
Yeah, I'm seeing existing laundry 514, 16, lower level 12. And the drawings look like they're attaching to the lower level.
So on that section drawing, it showed it at 511, and I'm sorry, if we go back to the section drawing, Chris, when
Shows
I'm
it as well.
51118 is the grade. I don't think that's within the room. That's slightly below.
Yeah. Okay, so can we go back to the proposed grading plan? Yeah.
I think he wants the
Okay.
plan. Oh,
Yeah, so that's 5. So the finished floor is then 512. So it's about grade. They're going to put grade about 10 inches below that. But can we go back to the proposed grading plan, proposed site plan? Zoom out a little. And that's the existing survey down below it.
Yeah, I can pull up.
That's okay. Yeah.
There's a survey with the actual point.
So if you see the existing grade, there's 512, about 512. So they're going to be pulling that all down about a foot. Okay.
Which is typically a problem, right? You don't.
You're going to have
You don't
to.
want to put your doors lower than your grade.
Yeah.
So Justin, just to clarify, I thought the 511.1, I guess it's 511 and about an inch. Can we go back to the section drawing?
Yeah, that makes it work, but I'm not quite clear how that can, like, are they going to take all that? So for instance, the ground needs to slope away from the building. I'm not quite sure how that works with all that existing. Are they going to take all that fake lawn out and scarify like 9 inches off of there and then reinstall it?
so the addition is extending past that 512 contour.
But if that's, I mean, as the images look and what we've been told is that that's basically flat. So then even if we're extending 2 feet past that grade, we're still going to be basically at 512.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I agree with that concern that should be, typically you want to describe that and how they're handling that grade change, and the proposed site plan doesn't address that issue.
So for instance, if you go into the middle of the artificial turf, that's 511.56, which is higher than the proposed grade at the building. So essentially, unless they take all this astroturf out and scarify it and bring that grade down, you're going to have your grade sloping back towards your addition. And I know we're talking inches, but it's with the way that astroturf is set up out there, you can't really fix the grades.
Yeah, they'd clearly probably have to put a French drain or some structure adjacent to the new addition to capture the water and deal with that issue.
Well, they would also, I mean, it's again, we're not building officials, but it's a code, the code requires that the grade slope 2% away from the building.
So they may end up through building department review if that I haven't heard of that requirement before, Justin, but I'm sure as an architect you're aware of it. They may actually have to remove the artificial turf to or regrade it, to put it slightly at a different level in order to comply with the building code.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a committee, I feel like we are talking ourselves out of reviewing this. We tried, but this does feel like there's some missing pieces, sort of once again from the plan, that are related more to code, building code or plan, but I'm not really sure. But these do seem like some pieces that are missing, to really make sure that we're reviewing something that does feel complete and ready to approve, is the way I'm starting to read this.
I'll just make one last comment. You clearly can approve or continue or whatever you're most comfortable with, but this nuance of like inches of draining is typically something that's caught at the building department level. We're conceptually reviewing site plans and floor plans and elevation drawings. There's clearly something they're going to have to resolve with the drainage as part of the project.
Yeah, and I guess, Kim, I agree with you. My concern is that they actually have to change the finished floor of the addition, because they're not going to want to tear out the whole backyard that they just built.
And so they could increase the, the height. Well, there's also issues obviously for interconnectivity and staircases and everything in the house.
Right.
I mean, they'll make one of two choices: to keep the finished floor as proposed and deal with the backyard, or they'll change the backyard. And, I mean, it'll be one way or the other. The maximum height on this site is 25 feet. I think Chris mentioned to me the house is about 1'6" or about 18 inches below the required height limit. They probably have a little bit of room to play with that movement. But I do think that's going to, that will have to be resolved as they move forward. If you're, this is a tough one. I mean, if you want to, we recommended continuance, so we'd have a little bit more time to look into some of these issues. I still think that's a pretty solid recommendation. And I honestly, this is what the public review is about, is the ability to discern what neighborhood concerns are. So with that, I'll stop my public comment and.
No, that's really, it's helpful, Kim. It is.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Just for my own comments, I agree with Kim that continuing this, one, to look at a couple of the issues that was brought up here, as well as to have response from staff to all of the public comments that have been submitted on this project.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think at this stage, it really does make sense to just continue and allow some of these issues to be looked into, and maybe staff can send somebody out to take a look and come up with a little bit better understanding of where the neighbors are coming from and how it applies to the issues we just looked at on the grading.
I would just make one more comment, because we did get sort of bogged down in the grading issue. I actually don't like the windows on the east elevation. I don't view them as consistent with the rest of the house. It seems there's a fairly clear pattern of single or double hung windows, and it just looks pretty out of place to me. So I agree with that comment, that it's not consistent. Also on the windows, it looks like the new windows are white vinyl replacement windows. I don't know if the windows on the rest of the house have already been replaced, or if they're the sort of traditional wood windows that actually look quite different than the white vinyl windows. In reality, in a two-dimensional drawing, you don't perceive that. But in reality, when you look at some of these historic houses, these bungalows and things like that, and you see the original windows next to these sort of shiny, bright plastic white vinyl replacement windows, they look quite different. So calling out the materiality of the existing windows would be interesting if we're saying that these new windows match them. To me, visually, the windows on that east elevation don't relate at all to the existing house.
Thanks, Justin. I agree with your comments. And then just wanted to ask for clarification. I believe, Kristen, you're saying that the building department would be the one that's reviewing that issue. Does that need to be, is that typically handled before coming to us? That was unclear to me.
Which issue are you talking about?
We were just talking about the grading and
Oh, the grading.
the 2% slope from, building entrances, et cetera, and it was mentioned that that would be the building department handling that concern. Is that something that's typically done before coming to the ARC?
So grading is a submittal requirement in our submittal checklist for ARC. So we want to see the grading plan if there is any grading proposed. Like Kim said, sometimes it can only be a conceptual grading plan until you get to the building permit stage and some other issues are resolved that may not be apparent at the conceptual level.
Got it. So sometimes it's coming before at a conceptual level, and therefore something might not be caught in a more complete plan that's following our review.
Right. We strive for accuracy in the plans. But sometimes things are discovered that we didn't because we're not engineers. So that, but we do want to see the grading plan at the planning and ARC stage.
Thank you.
I'm just echoing off of, I think it was Patrick's concern about the skylights in the back. I do like a skylight. I just don't know if it's appropriate for this style of house in this particular neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you. No other comments? Entertain a motion from this here.
I'll make a motion to continue.
I'll second it.
All right, a motion has been put forth by Committee Member Bluth to continue the application, and seconded by Committee Member Tregenza. Jennifer will conduct
Yes.
a roll call vote, please.
And just to be sure we're continuing and not tabling the item, we do need to pick a date certain to continue the item to. Otherwise, we have to table it, and then we will need to republic notice when it is ready to be brought back. Do you recommend?
I'm not sure that the issues can be addressed in time for the next meeting, because the next meeting is October 5th. That only gives them like two
Table it.
2 weeks. So
So-
I would recommend tabling.
Yeah,
Tabling it rather than shooting for the 10/19 meeting?
sure.
Okay, would you like to amend your motion then to reflect tabling the item instead of continuing the item?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And then the seconder was Patrick Tregenza, correct? Committee member
Yes.
Tregenza?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you both for confirming. And we do have Chair Hunter
Aye.
and Vice Chair Tregenza has already confirmed that is the new motion. And then Committee Member Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Carter is absent. Committee Member Ostavar,
Aye.
Committee Member Polly,
Aye.
and Committee Member Schmidt.
Aye.
Thank you. This item is tabled to a date uncertain, and we will renotice when we're ready to bring it back to the ARC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Next on the public appearance agenda items is consider 585 Cannery Row sign permit application SI-22-0144 for wall signs and 2 awning signs. Okay, does staff have a presentation?
Yes, sir. I will share my screen momentarily. Alrighty, has it gone through?
Good to go.
Great. So my name is Matthew Bogert, and I am an associate planner with the City of Monterey's Planning Division. Today, we're looking at 585 Cannery Row for a sign permit, SI 22-0144, for wall and awning signage at the premises. The recommendation from staff is to adopt the resolution to approve the sign permit. The applicant and the location of the project is at 585 Cannery Row. It is associated with the Monterey Bay Aquarium. It's an off-site location for another storefront. The general plan designation is commercial. The zoning is CR for Cannery Row. The proposed signage at the site, there are 6 signs proposed, 3 facing Cannery Row, 3 facing Hoffman Avenue. Each frontage would include 2 wall signs and 1 awning sign. The total square footage of the signs would be 164.5 square feet of the 174.7 square feet allowed, based on the length of the building. The proposed signs that would be facing Cannery Row include a canopy sign up top of 17 square feet, the wall sign along the right-hand side, which is a mural, and it wraps around the pillar there. It could be considered one sign, but for the purposes of frontages and how our sign guidelines are set up, each face is somewhat considered independently. And then a smaller 5.25 square foot wall sign to the left of the entrance. Switching over to Hoffman Avenue, similarly, there's the canopy sign, there's the extension of the wall sign wrapping around that pillar, and the wall sign as well off to the right. So the sign guidelines talk about the size in which they're supposed to be limited to, and a wall sign should not exceed 50 square feet in area. The mural facing Cannery Row will total approximately 80 square feet. And if you also include the portion that wraps around to the side, it still continues to exceed that 50 square foot maximum. Additionally, for canopy signs, in our sign guidelines, it says that an awning sign should be limited to the skirt or valance of the awning, and the existing awnings that are there do not have a valance. Let me go back briefly. Wanted to show here that there are existing awnings as well to the left, and that the awning with the sign would match those to the left down the building. The findings for approval are that ARC finds that the proposal achieves the purposes and objectives of the sign ordinance, that the signs are consistent with the guidelines, or that ARC determines the proposal here better achieves the purpose and objectives than strict application of the guidelines, and that the proposal is consistent with the general plan. It's signage, it is for the business, which is the intended purpose. So with that, the recommendation from staff is that ARC adopts the resolution to approve the sign permit at 585 Cannery Row. With that, that concludes staff's presentation. I believe that the applicant is also on the line as well for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Matthew. Does a any committee have any questions for Matthew?
I have a quick question about can you bring up the pictures again? It looks like there's some structure. I was just curious if it's just an old, right there. Is that structure above the wall sign for a hanging sign that used to be there? Is it down?
The awning portion or the?
No, down below. So if you look where it says wall sign, 5.25 square feet, and there's some structure above it.
Oh,
Something
yes.
Like a shingle sign?
Yeah, and that is being removed as part of this. It is not included in the proposal. One thing that was supposed to be included here as well is that the wall sign, both of the wall signs on either side would have an arced lighting feature that would light them up, would be shielded and facing towards the ground. It's included in the staff report as well. Yeah, but the lighting and the lumens are all consistent with what is included in our code.
Thank you. Any other questions for Matthew?
Those two smaller wall signs are the only two with lighting. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, and I can bring up a picture of those as well if necessary. They're small sconce features that are shielded.
I have a question, Matthew. Is the mural, the kind of kelp mural, is there a stipulation as to what color that has to be? Is it has to be the color that's shown in this rendering? It can't be changed to bright yellow or orange or turquoise or anything like that?
That is a good question. We don't require a certain color in our resolution as proposed, but I can also check the plans to see if they had described a color. The way that the conversations have been from the beginning is that it would be this kind of gray silhouette on the structure. I can double check in the plans to see if it's called out as gray.
Because I like this. I think it's tastefully done, but it would be like, oh, you know, you guys okayed it, but we can paint it. We can paint it purple now that you've okayed it. And I just want to make sure that we have something, you know, that is a guideline for them to, you know, stick with this kind of rendering, because I think this is fine, but it could really go south if it was another color.
Right. I can't answer that question right now, but I am pulling up the other plans to see what we've got.
Matthew, do we have any indication what color the proposed lighting might be? I'm looking at the little brochure and there's like an ivory, but all the other colors are pretty intense. Do we know what the applicant's proposing? I see which style they're doing. I just don't see any mention of the color.
Yeah, they indicated the cone chain, the gooseneck, the warm 3000K color black of the cone shade.
I see it now. It's black they're proposing.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of page 10 of the site plans.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I just say that it appears this selected one is a gooseneck, which looks different from the rendering, but maybe that's just because the rendering is inaccurate. But
it is different, and I think it's because of the design program that they were using didn't have that particular sconce feature.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, thank you.
And I don't see in the plans them mentioning the stenciled logo color per se. The applicant is also on the line. If they want to speak to that, they can as well. Or if we need to include a mandate that the color be close or similar to those included on the plan submitted, we can also include that as a condition of approval.
Or they can submit the exact color that they're going to use too. So like a little card with the color name and number so that we're clear on what color will be used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be fine with just, you know, something that says it's going to be very close to this rendering, or, you know, I'm assuming they're going to maybe paint the whole building, and I don't know, but like I say, I don't mind these two colors together for sure, work nicely. But I don't want to, you know, like if they go and like that particular color is now discontinued and they have to come back to the, you know, us or whatever. So just as long as it's in the general, you know, look and feel of what we're being shown here, that I'm fine with that.
If no other questions for Matthew, invite the applicant, if they care to make a statement, state your name, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Doug Roberts from JHW Architects, for the applicants on behalf of the aquarium. In general, we agree with the staff's findings for approval. Regarding the color of the kelp logo, the intent is, as you've been talking about, to be a silhouette or a damask, kind of offset a few tones of color. If the building were to be repainted in the future, it'd be nice to just be able to maintain that kind of color difference, rather than necessarily being assigned a specific color to be done right now. But however you see fit to write that would be appropriate. And I'm available for any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you for that. Do any of the committee members have a question for the applicant? No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Also, Mark Ambers from the aquarium is also here if you have any questions for him.
I'm sorry, to cut you off too soon there, Payam.
I do have a quick question. Just, I was wondering if the architect could just describe a little bit the lighting choice, the reasons for that lighting choice.
It's intended to be a smallish fixture, something traditional that would be fitting on Cannery Row, and then provide lighting towards the wall and down, not up lighting and so on.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Jennifer, will you restate the way that the public can comment on this, please?
Absolutely. Members of the public are encouraged to join our meetings via Zoom Gov, a secure service that connects you live with no lag time. To join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864 toll free. Once again, that number is 833-568-8864. Then enter the webinar ID 161-914-9563. Once again, the webinar ID for this meeting is 161-914-9563. And I do not see any attendees in the meeting, and there are no other attendees in person.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jennifer. I would open up the floor for comments, discussion from the committee.
I have another question. The rendering makes it look like the logo and sign on the building are perhaps just etched metal or something like that, but then some of the drawings look as if has a rectangle around it. So I can't tell, is the logo, et cetera, cut into a plate of metal, or is it the relief or the reverse?
Like
there is, I'm sorry.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, there is a description of the letters on, let's see, a particular page. The idea is that it's freestanding letters that are pinned to the wall, and the kelp logo is done that way. So,
like page 2 of 6 or 3 on the
Yes, right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just the only piece that's hanging me up a little bit is the light. If we go to that page 8, it's going to be this red light, but in black. That's fine. Generally, these are done in series as they show on that last page. And that tends to be kind of the look of those lights. it's the only part that just has me hung up slightly. Generally, I love the logo, really like the idea of the mural and that sign. These subtle etched signs are really, really wonderful. So this isn't something that's kind of make or break for me, but it's just something I'm mulling over and curious about other committee members' thoughts.
I think it has kind of a industrial cannery rowy kind of, feel, old fashioned retro throwback feel to it, in black, obviously, not red, yellow, or any other colors. So I think it's,
Yeah, I agree with Patrick. The color is black as if there's, not neon lime green or whatever. I think, that kind of fits the style of Cannery Row retro thing. So at least for me, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I agree with Patrick as well. I like that mural a lot, but I think the shading, having that variation between the light differentiation between the wall and then the mural is important. So how we come up with conditions that articulate that, I think is worth doing. So it stays like that.
Any other comments? No? Good.
There are still no attendees.
Okay. Any other comments from committee members? I'd like to go ahead and entertain a motion on the application.
I'll move to approve 585 Cannery Row sign permit application SI 22-0144 and all the rest. And to add the condition that the mural part of this project stays consistent with the drawings that have been provided us. Does that sound complete enough for you guys?
Okay. Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been put forward by Vice Chair Tregenza to approve sign permit application SI-22-0144 for the wall signs and two awning signs with the condition that the color depicted in the application for the mural be consistent with that. Okay.
Yes.
Jennifer, will you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Definitely. Vice Chair Hunter. Chair Hunter.
We skipped discussion with, sorry. Did you ask if there was discussion of the motion?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Is there discussion of the motion? Okay. With none, go ahead, proceed with the roll call votes, please, Jennifer.
Yes, Chair Hunter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Tregenza.
Aye.
Committee Member Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Carter is absent. Committee Member Ostavar,
Aye.
Committee Member Polly,
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt.
Aye.
Thank you. This motion carries and it is appealable to the Planning Commission with forms found at the planning office within the next 10 days.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Congratulations on the approval of your application and best of luck. Look forward to seeing it. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is, do we have any other staff items or presentations from staff?
so I provided a brief planning office update. The tentative agenda for the next meeting is not this address that's listed, but it's 2300 Garden Road. It's one of the office building conversions into apartments that you reviewed earlier in the year. And they're coming back for final architectural review. So you'll be seeing a landscape plan, lighting plan, finished materials, colors, etc.
All right, thank you, Fernanda. Any other comments or Questions, items for the committee?
I have a quick sort of sidebar question. When we do roll call vote, we tend to do it in alphabetical order. I'm just curious if it's ever mixed that up. It's really just sort of a curiosity question, but it means the same people are following and the same people are last, et cetera. And who knows if somebody's vote will persuade somebody in a different direction.
Yeah.
Just curious about that.
No, I'm just out of curiosity. I've been on the committee, I guess now for 3 years, and it's always been the chair, vice chair, and then everyone else alphabetically. But it doesn't have to be that way, I suppose. But is there any point or discussion or leeway that we have in that?
Yeah, I don't think that there's a requirement to do it alphabetically, or to do the chair and vice chair first, but I think it's easier for our admin staff who are taking notes and minutes, because they have a template that they write, and they just, when someone votes yes, they just like do a check mark or something. So it's just easier for them, I think. But if you want, we can switch it up.
Doesn't concern me too much. Just was curious because it means that the same person's always the last vote or whatever. Really, it was just a curiosity. I actually think it makes sense for chair or vice chair to be first, and was really just curious.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do something a little bit different, do chair, vice chair, and then the order of seniority on the committee if you wanted. Just as a suggestion, not
Okay,
but or alphabetically.
we can try it at the next meeting.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Any motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.